guys, welcome to another episode of Lionheart Radio. I'm your host, Memo Ochoa, co-founder of Lou Aviv. I am here with Claudia Chandler.
Hi guys, Claudia Chandler, Doctor of Physical Therapy with Muma RX and nationally ranked powerlifter. And we have a special guest today, Ray Regno. He is also on the Movement RX staff. He's the man behind the scenes. And he is also owner of CrossFit Stronghold, based here in San Diego, California. He is part of the CrossFit Level 1 seminar staff, as well as CrossFit Weightlifting Staff. He is a certified CrossFit trainer Level 3, and also has his certification, his Level 1 certification in the USA Weightlifting. So, welcome to our show.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Ray.
All right, Ray. So today we wanted to kind of talk about your life getting into fitness and then what all of that entails, including the gymnastics enthusiasm that you have.
Okay, so you want everything as far back as high school?
Well, you started CrossFit back in, what, 2007?
Oh, yeah.
You
So
said?
we started CrossFit in 2007. I was really fat at the time. I just got out of a bad relationship. I weighed 200 pounds, and I'm 5'3", so if that gives you any indication.
Refrigerator.
I was pretty chunky. And my brother-in-law came in, and he had this new pair of red, those elite rings, the original red stripes and the clear rings. And he goes,
Yeah.
"Hey, do you want to come work out with me?" And I go, "Sure." And he's a scrawny-looking dude. I didn't think he had anything much of him. But we went over to the park. He threw the rings over the swing set, and he goes, "Okay, we're gonna do this thing called a Tabata. We're gonna do 20 seconds of squats and then 20 seconds of ring dips, and we'll alternate." I go, "Okay, no big deal." And we did a double Tabata. We always thought Tabatas were 8 minutes. Tabatas are 4, right?
Right.
But we always did them as 8-minute Tabatas. And within minute 2, I was dying. And I was like in the sand afterwards, just murdered. And that was my first experience with CrossFit. After that, our gym was kind of like Fight Club. We would get the text message, "Hey, we're going to be in North Park. Hey, we're going to be in Chula Vista. Hey, we're going to be here. We're going to be in UTC. Let's meet up, work out." And that's how our gym started.
Cool.
We did that for maybe 2-3 months before finding our location where we are now. We've been there since 2007.
Oh, wow. That's awesome.
Park workouts?
Yeah, we're doing park workouts.
Nice.
We did kettlebell swings. We were there like 5 in the morning, doing Tabatas or swings, EMOMs, all kinds of simple things. Mm-hmm. It's funny because everyone always struggles to get the muscle up. We all got it our first try. It wasn't pretty, but somehow we figured out how to do it. We're like, okay, so we're going to do a muscle up. You're going to hang from the rings, and then you're going to end up on top of them. And we're like, okay, let's do this. One arm at a time, and there it was. So it was kind of weird. You watch people like still struggling for years to muscle up. We just figured it out. So
Yeah.
that was our experience. We had no idea what we were doing. We were like, okay, there's a website that has the workout. Let's do that,
Yeah. Awesome. And so how did you get onto the CrossFit staff, or how long have you been doing that?
So I've been on staff with CrossFit headquarters for 2 years, and that was actually a really rigorous process getting on there. Actually, I was a silent partner for the gym for the first 5 years of existence, and then the gym was failing. I came in. Actually, my intent was to shut down the gym, but when I got there, I was like, let's just have a go at it. I was freelancing at the time. I had the time. I put the time in. I got my level 1, and then 4 months later, I was coaching. And the funny thing was that I'd only really attended 10 classes working out, and then I got bored and started doing triathlon stuff. So I had really no experience as being like a client. So everything that I learned was just kind of on the fly, figuring it out as I went. And I'm kind of one of those people that has an addictive personality. If I get into something, I'm going to go all out. And as I started coaching, I figured I just need to learn everything I can. I read everything I could find in the CrossFit Journal. I started watching videos of Coach Bergner. Anything I could pick up, I went after it. And then it was just kind of, after going to the level 2, it was a coach's prep course at the time, I just got in my head that I want to be on the staff. And so I asked them what that would take. And they said, well, get back to us in a week or 2. We'll recommend you, and then we'll see how it goes. And so that what happened. And the way you get on staff is you go through this internship process. Your first weekend, you just observe the trainers coaching the breakout sessions and teaching the lectures. And the second one, back at the time, they actually let you teach the breakout sessions for the level 1. And I completely tanked the squat breakout. Like, you're supposed to teach for about 55 minutes, 55 to 60 minutes, depending on the timeline. And I got through the air squat, the front squat, and the overhead squat in like 20 minutes. And then I looked at Todd Widman and I was like, is there anything you want to add? Because, you know, in my gym, I'm used to people who don't squat well. And for some weird reason, I had 10 great movers. They all knew how to move really well. And Todd swoops in and saves the day. He goes, I love this. Let's just go for it. We can make every good mover can become better.
Yeah.
Even if it's just fighting for millimeters. And I was like, face melted. I'm looking at this. I'm like, I had no idea you could make people move that well.
Yeah.
I had no idea that we could fine tune people like that. And so Todd was really nice. I've actually heard of interns getting sent home right away. Like, you know what, you suck. You can't, they're kinder than that about it. They're like, you can't do this, go home. But Todd was really cool. He actually let me teach the presses breakout anyway, after I tanked the squat one, and then he gave me some feedback, and then I applied it, and he actually let me teach the deads the next day, which I thought was really nice of him. And he sat down with me, he goes, I see that you really care about people, and you have a passion for this. I'm going to recommend you take some time and learn a little more, and then try again. So I got the email from Dave Castro, the advice is 6 months, go take that 6 months and study and come back and crush it. Mm-hmm. I took 9 months to do that, and in that time, what I did was I just tried to attach myself to everyone I could learn from. I started training with Cody Bergner at Invictus. That's when I met Teresa Larson. I started hanging out with her and learning all that I could from her. And just wherever I could learn from someone who knew more than me, I attached myself to them. And then I went through the process again. I had to start all over from scratch, and then I made it through that time. And so I've been on staff since about 2 years now.
Oh, great. So when did you get your attachment with the CrossFit weightlifting staff then? So
Cody and I I needed a weightlifting coach. I learned how to snatch by watching videos of Sage and Coach B in their garage on YouTube. And then I was, like I said, I was obsessed with learning, and I was looking to see where I could find a weightlifting coach close to me. And I happened to find CrossFit Invictus' website, and I saw that there was a Bergner on staff. I go, that must be related to Coach B. So I emailed them. I go, hey, I would like to do some weightlifting with you. And so I walked in there. I was so intimidated walking into Invictus, it's this place is famous. And I walked in, I met Cody, who was super cool, and he was actually really nice. He's like, wow, you move pretty well considering you've never been coached before. I'm like, yeah, I watched your dad's videos and watched your sister lift and stuff like that. So that's where I learned to lift. And so that relationship, I worked with him once a week, just one-on-ones for about 2.5 years before I asked him about meeting his dad. And then I interned with his dad a couple of times, and then that's pretty much how that happened. I started hanging out at the house. Coach B opens up his garage every Wednesday at 10 o'clock. Whenever he's in town, come up and lift. And so I started doing that, and that's how I got connected with him. Mm-hmm. And you still go up there every Wednesday,
right?
Every Wednesday, except for today. I think he was in Hawaii. He's been traveling a little bit, so we'll find some other place to lift. But every Wednesday he's here, I'm there. Nice.
So, you've been in CrossFit for a while now, since 2007. So how has it been seeing the change of, certifications and things like that through, from that time to now?
Let's just say this. I've worked 26 seminars, and every single time I go, I learn something new. Yeah. And they continue to make that seminar better and better based on feedback that we get from participants. And even just looking back at the way we did CrossFit in 2007, we had no clue about warm-ups or cool-downs or this, that. They had the general warm-up thing, but we had no idea about mobility and this stuff. And it's funny because when I took over the program, I was coaching, and then I would go attend seminars or teach seminars. My brother-in-law would teach the classes, and he's from old school. And everyone's like, we were done in 15 minutes. And he's like, here's the workout, go do it. And it's like, no, there's a process. We do warm up, we work on your mobility, we do skill work, we do the strength stuff, and then we do a cool down. And then it's a full process. And it's crazy how much CrossFit has evolved, and it keeps getting better, keeps growing. And I know that, it sucks that people have such a bad, that some people have such a bad impression of what we do, but we really, really do value good movement. It's one of our major tenets. It's mechanics, consistency, and intensity. But everyone wants to jump to intensity and skip mechanics and consistency. So part of that concept I was talking about earlier is squat evangelism. It's like everyone needs to squat, and everyone can continue their entire life getting better at the squat. And it seems like such an elementary movement, but it's infinitely refinable is one of my favorite phrases that we use in the CrossFit seminars. These movements are infinitely refinable. No one's ever going to really arrive. And I think that's the big focus, and at least for me, as teaching CrossFit, is hey, we want to move well, and then we want you to move fast. So that's been cool to see that progression of people really starting to care more about doing things right versus just going out and hurting yourselves.
Yeah.
You know?
Do you find that can happen a lot with new people coming into CrossFit, that they want to get from that, skip basically the moving well part and just go into straight moving fast?
Oh yeah, you know, they've seen people do snatches, they see people do muscle ups, like, I want to do that. It's like, no, you know, it doesn't just happen that way. There's these things called progressions.
Yeah.
I posted a video on Instagram last night where I put my hands on a plyo box and I lifted myself up and brought my feet up to the box. It's called like a reverse pike press thing or whatever. It took me 2 years to do that.
Yeah.
Or I was at Coach B's house the other day and I did a front lever on the bar, just kind of fooling around. This lady walks up to me and goes, "Can you teach me how to do that?" I go, "I've been working on that for 2 years." There's like so many different things that you have to do that are so tedious and not sexy, and it doesn't look impressive, and it just sucks to do it in order to even get to something close to this.
Yeah.
But to answer your question, I keep walking down rabbit trails, is that, we see that all the time where people just want to jump from like brand new beginner to doing elite movements, and that's where people get hurt.
Yeah.
You know, so many times you see people doing muscle ups and their shoulders are in terrible positions. And you know, at the CrossFit Level 1 seminar, we teach that, hey, if you don't have a strict muscle up, you shouldn't be doing kipping muscle ups.
Yeah.
Because you just don't have the shoulder capacity, the strength, and the positions to manage that dynamic movement. And I have that same rule in my gym. If you can't do it strict, you're not doing it kipping.
Yeah, that's awesome. I think that's a good policy to have. Coming from a physical therapy standpoint.
Right. Keep people safe. We try to work you out of a job, right?
Yeah. So when did your love for like gymnastics come in, and what? Tell me a little bit about how you've gotten into that. I'm a student
of everything. You name it, I've probably done it for a little while. And I started getting interested in gymnastics after seeing videos of Ido Portal and the gymnastic body stuff, and just kind of seeing the neat things that people could do with their body weight. And a lot of it too is just kind of my obsession with movement. I like studying movement. I like understanding how things work. And so I started off just kind of fiddling around, trying to work on handstands and this, that, and the other. And then I started working with Osh Chapman over at CrossFit San Diego. And he's a gymnastic bodies guy. And I would work with him once a week. It was kind of my other thing. I was working once a week with Cody doing weightlifting. And I started doing once a week stuff with Osh doing the gymnastics. And you know, my schedule at work, it got kind of hard doing everything. So I started kind of doing things on my own. Gymnastic Body has this really cool program you can buy online. It does the progressions, which are crazy tedious. I mean, you could work on those for years before you do anything remotely cool. You know,
worthy enough of posting on Instagram.
Like brag about. It's like, okay, we're gonna do 6 weeks of just hollow holds and legit hollow holds. You see people doing hollow rocks in the gym all the time. It's like, that's not a hollow rock, dude. Your back is arched on the ground. Your hands are touching it's like, that's not a hollow hold.
Yeah.
And then you show them what it's really like. And like, oh, this is hard. I'm like, yeah. And I gotta do like 5 sets of 60 seconds of this rocking, you know, just building up to, what is it? Oh, a rope climb. You got to build up to 5 sets of 60-second bent arm hangs. That's where you're standing over the bar, hanging from over the bar and holding that position. Yeah. Trying not to fall down for 60 seconds for 5 sets. Like you want to cry.
Yeah.
It's just, and you know what, Coach Summer his program is very elegant in that it does a strength and then it partners a strength piece and a mobility piece. And the goal there is to prepare the tissues and the ligaments and your tendons for the work. You know, our muscles grow so much faster, right? And then our other soft tissue can't keep up with it. And so that whole point of the progression is to make sure that your tissues are prepared for that. A lot of times people just try to jump into this big thing, but you know, the muscle is ready, but the other supporting structures aren't.
Yeah.
And so that's the importance of progression. Like you can jump through. I mean, I was having troubles with my brachialis for a long time because I was trying to jump ahead in the progression. I actually emailed Coach Summer and he actually emailed me back. He goes, "Well, have you mastered this yet?" I go, "No." And he goes, "Well, yeah, you should go back." Yeah. I'm like, okay.
Yeah. Well, and just even going from the other side of things too, people kind of get obsessed with all of the mobility things and then get that increased range of motion, and it can be more damaging because they don't have that stability. That's why I like a lot of the gymnastics body stuff, is because they add that stability piece of creating that tension in your system and maintaining it, because you can go to that other extreme of having too much mobility in your body and then not be able to control it, and then that can lead to injury as well.
Yeah, we see that all that time with CrossFit, or with people who do CrossFit, is that they're like, oh, my mobility sucks. And I'm like, actually, no, you have really great mobility. You just don't know how to control your range of motion.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
You know, I actually was one of those people that was obsessed with mobility WOD for like the first 3 years of being a CrossFit coach.
I didn't know that at all.
I spent like 5 hours mobilizing, doing all these things that in hindsight, I didn't even really need.
Yep.
You know, and I would tell my members like, oh, you can't squat below parallel. You need to work on your mobility. Go smash this out over here. And it's like, and I had one member in particular. She came and did this movement clinic that we did with Movement RX.
Yeah.
And we're doing all those assessments. Like, okay, here's how to tell if you have enough ankle dorsiflexion to squat, or external rotation of the hip. Do you have enough hip flexion? And we're looking at this, and she's like killing it on all the tests. So why can't she squat below parallel without falling over? It's motor control.
Yeah.
And why does her armpits look all funky in the overhead squat? She has all the mobility components required. It's motor control. So for 2 years of being a member with me, I wasted so much time with her telling her, go do mobility, when she already had the mobility.
Yeah.
And so, you know.
Yeah, I think that's important. And, you know, through some of our seminars and stuff, we've really tried to teach a lot of the coaches that just finding the difference between mobility and stability, or like motor control, the ability to like actually perform the action.
Yeah.
Because a lot of those people that have crazy mobility and don't have that motor control or stability in their system, telling them to go do more mobility, it can be really damaging.
And a waste of time.
Yeah, and a waste of time.
Total
for
waste
sure.
of time.
Yeah.
Like, why do I gotta do this? Like, don't.
Yeah.
I can't tell you how many times I run into people at the level 1 course and go, I can't squat below parallel. And I go, here, walk up to this pole, hold on to the pole, now squat all the way to the bottom. Is mobility really your problem? Like, I mean, their butt to ankles, their knees are out, their chest is up, everything's beautiful. Okay, now let go of the pole, falls over.
Yeah.
Is mobility really your problem?
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
You just don't, your body's not wired. It doesn't know how to control that space.
Yeah.
And so what you need to do, and like, they're like, it's like light bulbs go off and everyone's like, oh my gosh. Like, I had one lady actually cry. She's like, I can't believe it. I've been told like I have sucky mobility and I thought I could never squat. And I go, no, like, this is beautiful. What are you talking about?
Yeah.
So,
totally.
Yeah, it's just, I wish I had known that before. It's just kind of funny, like things you wish you knew 3 years ago.
Oh yeah, of course. We all
Like,
go
wow,
through that.
man, I would have been way more effective.
What was I doing?
What was I doing?
Yeah, it's definitely like a learning process for everyone. I think.
For sure.
I mean, just even in CrossFit, you know, when we all started, it was like just breaking your body off.
Yeah.
Every single workout, like that was the goal. Like just to go in there and just break your body off. And now we've learned more about taking care of your body and the overall, like, you know, goal to get better at certain things is not going in there and crushing your body with Metcons all the time.
Yeah,
so.
that's actually interesting that you say that, because I get to work with a lot of the OG CrossFitters that have been around for a long time, and that's a common sentiment. It's like, you know, we can't just go in there and just destroy ourselves every single day.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, I actually really like the way CrossFit.com programs. It's like you've got like three days of Metcon and you have one heavy day. And for the average athlete, that's more than enough. You know, and everyone wants to do double days and this, that, and the other. It's like, hello, one of the most important parts of training is recovery. Yeah. It's like you can't rebuild if you're continually just trashing yourself. And most people don't need to be on a real regimented strength program. You know, the average person, I mean, one day is good, and then just kind of get them moving, really. Yeah. And so, yeah, there's a lot to be said about all that stuff. Like, oh, that's a rabbit trail. I won't go there.
All right. So, Ray, did you do any sports in high school, college?
Yeah, my freshman year of high school, I did cross country, and I wrestled, and I also started the roller hockey team at Mount Carmel High School. This was back in 1994, a long time ago. And I played, and I also ran distance and track. And then after that, my sophomore or junior year, I just focused on wrestling. And then my senior year, I realized I wasn't going to be a good wrestler. So I ended up quitting and played the only sport that my wrestling coach respected other than wrestling, and that was lacrosse. Oh. So I did that for a season. I'd actually wanted to do that since my freshman year, but I already was doing too many sports. And then I played that at UCSD for a year when I went to college. So,
cool.
I've always liked sports, always been active.
Yeah. Awesome. Cool.
So you graduated in 98?
Yeah, 98.
How old are you?
36.
Oh man, you don't look 36.
Because he's Filipino.
Oh yeah. Oh, you got them jeans.
Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome. So you recently were on the news for squatting.
Yes.
So just tell us a little bit about like what you were on there for and what you were trying to plug.
Well, Teresa asked me to be on the news, and I was like, well, what am I going to talk about? I go, well, I guess I could talk about the importance of squatting to full depth. And, as you know, doctors tell people all the time, don't squat below parallel, which is a blow to crap.
Yeah,
you know?
It's bad for you.
Yeah, it's like, well, yeah, it's bad for you if you do it poorly. But if you look at any human being under the age of 2 years old, what do they do when they see something on the ground that interests them? They squat.
Perfect squat.
Perfect squat.
Yeah,
like heels
beautiful.
to butt.
Yeah,
like it's like it makes you want to cry. So pretty. Like their butts on the ground, their knees are out, their chest is up, and they don't just like pick it up. They sit down there.
Yeah.
Most adults, it's crazy. Like you hold them down in the squat for 10 seconds and they're crying and sweating bullets. But the kids are like, do. Like my sister's kids, she's got 4 of them, and they hang out in the squat all the time. But what happens is, when you, especially here in Western culture, when you turn 4 years old, you go to preschool, right? And they start letting you sit in these amazing things called chairs. I'm embarrassed to say we're sitting in chairs right now, but that's okay. That's all right. It's just, 20 minutes of our life, right? But that's what people do from preschool to elementary school to middle school to high school through college, and then they get jobs and they spend most of their time sitting in chairs. And these chairs limit our range of motion to 90 degrees. So most people have no clue what to do at past 90 degrees. And so that's why it makes sense. Like, hey, if you don't know what to do, then don't go there. But I think doctors would do a better job if they would just say, hey, find a coach that can teach you how to do this properly.
Yeah.
Because it is a function that we are inherently instinctively know how to do. We're wired to do that. And the problem is that it's with our bodies, it's a use it or lose it paradigm, right? If you don't use it, you will lose it. And that's what we do when we sit in chairs. We get to 90 degrees, and after that, what is it? What's the phrase? Neuromuscular. So we'll have to edit out this like stumbling, but when you have like that mind, that brain body connection, those neural connections, they fall apart. They don't get used, so they don't get saved, basically. So what we do, and like when I was in the interview, Linda was asking me, so I'm squatting on my toes. Is this something I work up to with your heels on the ground? I go, no, that's something we regain. These are the things that we were built to do. Like you look at babies, you don't have to teach them how to do that. They just do it. And it's just, we don't have those connections in our neural pathways to do that anymore. So we have to rebuild those and actually teach that. And
you also brought a good point up because you were with a female anchor who was in heels.
Oh, yeah.
So you got to look at the amount of females that wear heels for, work or whatever. And that's going to definitely, you're setting yourself up to not have good ankle range of motion, especially if you're wearing them all day, every day.
Yep.
And then that's going to limit your squatting ability for sure. So.
Yeah, you're already kind of putting yourself in that excessive plantar flexion. So your ankles never go to dorsiflexion. And then after that time goes by, your feet get tight, your ankles get tight, you walk around like a duck. Don't ever tell a woman she walks like a duck, you get in trouble. I said that to my girlfriend on our first date, and she's like, she told me in hindsight, she's like, I don't know why I kept hanging out with you. Because I noticed that, well, she's just shorter girl, and it's like, God bless her. I thank her that she just decided to hang out with me some more. So,
oh, that's awesome.
Don't tell your girlfriend that she looks like she walks like a duck. Don't do that.
And I also too, because we did a little news segment on like toilet posture and how that is also another contributing factor, because that's another position that you're not going to go below parallel. Yeah. Heck, there's a lot of toilets out there that don't even put you at 90 degrees.
Especially if you're short, like you and me.
I know, right? I'm like in a public restroom. There is very many places where I'm below parallel.
Yeah, you can't even touch the ground. It's
I know.
Like so high.
I know where the short stall is at work, so
yeah, you're right. You're gonna hit that
up. For those of you guys who are listening, Claudia and I are both under 5'3" and under.
Yeah.
So it's a little hard for us to find places to squat where we're below parallel.
Yeah, and that's another thing. Like you got to think about too, our ancestry. Like you were squatting down to. In other cultures, you're squatting down to a hole in the ground.
Yeah.
Like you're using that degree of motion that you should be able to use on a daily basis when you go to the bathroom.
Yeah, and that's one of the things I mentioned too.
We're not using it. So, yeah.
Like in Eastern cultures, this is where people hang out. They eat there. They poop there. They smoke their cigarettes there. They play cards there. And that's just a normal position for them. And those cultures have very little instance of hip and knee replacement. We don't find that to be a coincidence. You know, like you got to move those joints through full range of motion if you want to keep them healthy.
Yeah.
And sitting in chairs does not do that for you.
Yeah. You look at the population, there's going to be a lot of people that won't even bend their knee like into full like knee flexion, which like basically folding your knee together throughout the entire day, or get their hip above 90 degrees, so knee to chest at all throughout the entire day. And so it's kind of, the most you might be is like maybe in your car or something, you know? It's pretty crazy to think about that, and how that can affect those people that are coming off the street, coming into a CrossFit gym, you know, and trying to teach them those new movement patterns. So that it's going to be new for them. So.
Yeah.
Have you competed at all?
No, I've done the open. I actually don't like competing. Even in high school, I hated competing. I hated race day, cross country and track day. I hated wrestling meets, but I loved the training part of it. Okay, That's what I loved. I loved the camaraderie. I loved the suffering. I loved, like, not like outwardly competing, but I liked watching other people and just, I'm going to beat them. But I just don't like that feeling of being on the center stage and everyone watching. It's just kind of nerve-wracking for me. Some people thrive on that. I don't. I just like the training part. It's just fun.
Do you feel like that's hard with goal setting, and do you lose any motivation to like work towards a goal, or does that affect it all? Because I know, like, for me personally, like, I have to have a meet that I'm training for to keep like my motivation and things up.
Yes and no. I mean, I have personal goals. Like, I want to be able to snatch, I want to hit snatch 110 sometime in the next, 6 months. Okay. Or like, I want to be able to clean and jerk 120. My clean and jerk is awful. I squat 160 and I only clean 118, and that's terrible. and I have pretty good mobility. My problem is in my brain. I've hurt myself too many times, like not committing to a lift and mess up my wrist. So then it kind of gets, every time I get to about 115, it's like my brain's like, all right, you don't want to hurt yourself again. So it's mostly a head issue. I just need to stop being a wuss. But for me, mostly it's just the journey that I enjoy. Like, I like getting to see those milestones, like, oh, cool, I did a press handstand today. I did this, I did that. And so I guess competing gives me a little bit more, gives you more of a timeline, gives you more of a deadline, but for me, it doesn't really matter all that much. I just like studying the movement and then being able to explain to people, hey, this is what you're supposed to feel.
Yeah.
So
could you give any advice for any coaches out there that might be searching for trying to advance or, step it up to the next level, or any new coaches out there? Like, what kind of advice could you give for a CrossFit coach or a weightlifting coach? Doesn't matter. Like,
doesn't matter the discipline. If you're wanting to help other people get better, you need to attach yourself to someone else that can help you get there too. No, I've got Teresa. I have you. I have Summer O'Black. We exchange ideas all the time. I help her with her weightlifting. She helps me. She's actually gave me the cues I needed yesterday to do that move I've been trying to get for 2 years. Yeah. Check it out on Instagram. I put up there. Yeah, just surround yourself with other people who know more than you, and just keep learning. I try to tell all the level 1 participants at the seminars, like, this is just a starting step. This is the first step. You have not arrived. Yeah. This is a continuous journey where you're continuously learning and learning and learning so that you can impart that knowledge to somebody else. Yeah. And so I think that's what made me successful, is that I proactively sought out other people to learn from. And it's something that I constantly am looking for, always learning, always growing, and not being complacent thinking that you know everything. Yeah. So you got a lot of that going on too. So
yeah. How do you think in the future, how do you think that that's going to change within CrossFit, or how are they going to address that of people that aren't necessarily advancing in the way that you have and really searching out that knowledge?
Well, I think there's always going to be those people that are complacent and just kind of find their little niches. Like, case in point, there was this one guy that I interned with when I restarted my internship. He came in and I guess he was coaching out of his garage, and he had his girls that were his members, and he was interning too, and his mentor person that was attached to him was a female, you know, and one of the things about being on CrossFit Staff is you have to be okay with receiving feedback.
Oh, yeah.
Because you're going to be receiving feedback all the time. You get feedback on your lectures, on your breakouts, everything, just the way your presence and attitude. Like, you have to be teachable. And I remember we got back from leading our squat breakouts, and I was pretty stoked because I think I had Eric Preston that day, and he gives some of the best feedback.
Yeah.
Like, you just want to soak it up and like, can I record that and like write it down, because that's all money. Like, a lot of things that I say are because of Eric Preston. I just see whatever he has, I want it.
Yeah.
Well, this guy, I won't say who it was, but he had another really, really talented mentor, and I look up to her, and I'm sure she gave him amazing feedback. But I guess he didn't like getting feedback, particularly from a girl. And like we walked back, and I remember we were going back to the lecture room, and he kind of walks up to me, shakes my hand, and he goes, "Nice meeting you," and he left.
Oh, wow.
I was like, whoa, what happened there? Like you really are willing to walk away from this opportunity? Like, this is a special opportunity to actually get here.
Yeah.
And he just threw that away because he didn't like getting feedback.
Yeah.
You know, there are always going to be those people who are complacent and just like they want to be where they are. You know, and so I don't know that there's anything CrossFit can do about that. But what I do know is that CrossFit's constantly improving their seminars, their courses.
Yeah.
They're accredited by the ANSI, which is like the highest, like most rigorous accreditation body in the United States, for the very fact of saying, hey, we want to make sure that we are legit, and so we're picking the most rigorous one to show that we're legit. You know, and especially with the new level 3, you know, I think that test was harder than college. You know, I studied so hard for that, and I was so worried about that.
Yeah.
And on top of that, now they're going to be rolling out a level 4.
Oh, okay.
So that's really neat that they keep raising the bar, and I just like that. Despite what the media and other people are trying to discredit CrossFit for what they do, like because of people who misrepresent the brand. I think that's the unfortunate thing. There's a lot of people misrepresenting the CrossFit brand, and that's what people think of CrossFit. But CrossFit in and itself is doing such an awesome job continually improving their programs and continually raising the bar and the standards for what it means to be a trainer, to be certified, to be an ambassador for that. So I think on that plane, I think there's hope there. So I think we'll see a lot better coaches come out. And the fact that they require people to revalidate every 5 years is gold, because it makes sure that those people who are teaching still, like, hopefully they'll get a little bit from coming back, and hopefully we'll be able to plant some seeds there to help them want to get better. But again, it's really up to the people to want to get better. So yeah, I feel like CrossFit's doing their part. Other people have to do theirs too.
Yeah, of course.
Are level 3 and 4 still just a weekend?
No, the level 3 is a test.
Oh, it's just like a test.
I can't remember how long it was. It was 3 or 4 hours. You go to a testing center.
Oh, wow.
So is it just a written portion, or is it a practical as well?
It's just a multiple choice. It's just like one of those computer things. You take a test. Yeah. It's comprehensive. So.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah.
And then the level 2, that is a practical.
That's a practical. That one's a really neat one. I feel like every trainer should go to.
Okay.
Because what they do is they work on the points that we see a lot of coaches missing, is that the ability to see and correct movement.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, we throw so much content at people in one weekend. How can they possibly retain all that? You know, every weekend I see something, I'm like, oh, okay, I see that. You know, I teach a seminar. You know, and so how can one person who's only been to it once possibly retain all that? So the level 2 is a really neat course, because rather than the participants being taught they're giving an opportunity to teach.
Oh, great.
And they're giving the opportunity to watch people move and try to correct their movement, and then get feedback from another trainer that's there helping them. So highly recommend that course to anyone who just has their level 1, especially if you want to help your clients move well. It's sad because I get a lot of visitors come into my gym, or actually people who know me from Move on RX. They'll come in and we'll just work on the squat, and I'll give them a couple cues, and they're like, I've been doing CrossFit for 2 years, and no one's ever told me that. Very fundamental things. It's like, how has no one mentioned that to you at your gym?
Yeah.
How is it that you never knew your butt winking, that your butt's going way under in the bottom of the squat? How does no one ever told you that your knees cave in or your feet collapse or your chest is all rounded forward?
Yeah.
You know, either it's the coaches don't care or they're being lazy. But, you know, people are like, I've never heard that before.
Yeah.
I mean, you were with me this one time at a competition, remember? We had an actual level 1 trainer come to the booth, and then we're looking at her squat, and we're like, oh, let's try this. And then she's like, no one taught me that before.
Yeah.
You remember that?
Yeah.
And it's like, oh my gosh, like these are people that are coaching people.
Yeah.
And so that's why I think the level 2 is amazing, because it really helps kind of build on those
that.
things. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
Cool.
Do you get to travel a bunch for that?
Because I'm newer, I'm kind of lower seniority, so I don't get to travel as much. I've been to Houston, I've been to Arizona like 3-4 times.
Cool.
So yeah, the more so it's neat too, because being on staff also, it's a progression. Everything CrossFit's a progression. You start off just helping teach the breakout groups. So if you've been to level 1, there's those breakout groups, and you have a trainer that leads those. And then after X number of seminars, then if they find you doing well enough, they're like, okay, we'll give you a lecture to teach. And then you got to pass that at least like 5 of them to move on to another lecture. So I've graduated through the presses lecture, and now I'm teaching the deads. I've taught 3 times. I got approved on all 3, but on one of them I was kind of like, we need to work on that. So I didn't really get credit for that one.
Okay.
So I got to teach another 3 more to advance to the next lecture. So that's kind of, I don't remember how we got on that topic, but yeah, so I'm kind of still newer. So I don't get to travel quite as much.
Still cool though, man. You're in a pretty good spot.
Yeah.
Well, you've traveled a little bit with the CrossFit Weightlifting Staff, right?
Yeah, I've gone to the Philippines with Coach B. That was fun.
Yeah.
And then I went to Mexico with JP once.
Okay.
I'm kind of the filler guy. The weightlifting seminar has a really, really deep and talented staff.
Yeah.
So I kind of just fill in where it's needed.
Okay.
If we're local, Coach B likes me there to teach the mobility and the warm-up stuff up front. So I'm kind of his mobility guy.
Okay.
And we're at Coach B's house. If someone can't move, it's like, go talk to him. I go, okay. He's like, hey, take them through this. So I was like, okay. So I'm that guy.
Awesome.
Yeah.
That was such an awesome cert, man. I love that.
Yeah.
That whole group is awesome.
Yeah, I love the weightlifting seminar. I mean, it's great because it's a lot of hands-on. You know, I took the USAW course too, which is a good course. There's a lot of good on theory there. But what I think is special about our CrossFit weightlifting course is that you spend the entire day snatching, pretty much.
Yeah.
The entire day, and then the next day it's all clean and jerk. So it's a neat experience where people actually get to move, and you see people PRing all the time going on the course.
So what's one thing that you've learned from Coach B that has been like the most valuable?
Oh gosh,
Totally putting you on the spot.
that's really hard to pick just one.
Or you can choose 2.
Okay, choose 2. Number 1.
But only 2.
Okay, my biggest takeaway with Coach B is that he's probably the most generous person I've ever seen. Like humble and generous. I mean, it's crazy. I remember when I first started going to his house, I was so intimidated by him because he was a Marine, and I thought he was going to yell at me. I thought he'd be like, and then as I got to know him, man, he's like the nicest, kindest person ever.
Yeah.
And I think the other thing too with Coach B is that he doesn't, and I see this all the time, he's also very kind in the way he coaches people. He picks one thing and says, all right, let's work on that. And he'll ignore every other fault. And then he'll say, that's outstanding. You know, and with me, I'm so picky. Sometimes I go, okay, that was great. Now do this. You know, that's one thing I'm working on. I think what's really powerful about him is that he's personable and he's lovable, but he makes you better.
Yeah.
I agree. 100%.
That's just kind of, he makes you better and he makes you feel good about it. Even if he makes fun of you, you know, he still makes you feel good about yourself, you know? And I tend to be more critical, and I feel like sometimes people get beat up a little bit. So that's one thing I'm working on. Is just trying to be more kind when I cue people.
I think that's an important point too, is because I think a lot of coaches kind of fall into the like too much cueing.
Yeah.
So they like throw like 5 different cues at someone, and then it's they just go into like brain overload.
Yeah, chest up, knees out, finish.
And you're like, what?
Fast elbows.
Yeah, so I like that. Like, you know, one thing. Let's work on that, and then let's be grateful that you achieved that.
Yeah, and then be grateful that even if they mess up something else, it's like, hey, you did what I asked you to. That's a victory. Good job. Outstanding.
Especially with something like Olympic weightlifting, it's so technical.
Oh gosh.
It's probably one of the reasons why I powerlift instead.
But here's the thing.
There's so much that can go wrong.
There's so much that can go wrong, but for those of you guys who've never seen Claudia lift, she could be a pretty awesome weightlifter if she wanted to be. She just doesn't think so. I keep trying to turn her, but she does awesome stuff on the powerlifting platform, so that's cool.
I'll stay there for a while.
One direction, up, down.
Exactly.
There's no up, down, up.
Yeah, no. All right, so Ray, is there anything else that you want to plug, or where can people find out more about you and your gym?
So I'm at CrossFit Stronghold. We're in Point Loma. We're a very, very small gym, and I want to stay that way. I want to keep our classes small. So, if you're looking for a small gym that focuses a lot on quality of movement, come see me. We have a barbell club that meets 8 to 10 every single morning, except for Wednesdays, because that's when we're at Coach B's house. I also plug this on Facebook a couple times. If you're a level 1 or level 2 coach and want some feedback and want to grow as a coach, I'm more than happy to have you shadow me, and I'll help you, teach you. If you have questions, I've had a number of people from other gyms come in and take advantage of that, and it's been a cool experience. Kind of learning from them. I learned just as much from teaching people as from learning from me. And if you ever want to come up to Coach B's house, follow him on Instagram. He usually tells you when we're going to be there. So if you want to come weightlift, that's free. A lot of people don't realize that he doesn't charge for people to come up there.
That's great.
So it's 10 o'clock on Wednesdays. Just keep a lookout on his Facebook and his Instagram. He advertises when it's going to be open.
Great.
And then you can find me at Movement-RX and on Instagram, Ray Regno, RayRegno.
All right, cool. Well, thanks for coming on.
Thanks for having me.
It's been a pleasure.
Yeah.
Thanks, guys.
Chip the rep.
Thanks for listening to Lionheart Radio. Don't forget to rate us and download our other episodes. For your supplement needs, go to louavive.com, and for your sports therapy needs, visit movement-rx.com.
This Midwest nigga be the coldest. Cleveland is the city where it's hustle or you hopeless. In my closet like a stove, bitch. Only difference is you ain't gon' find this in no stove, bitch. I'm fresher than your whole clique.